Have you ever noticed that some men barely try, yet women treat them better, more consistently, more respectfully, while you feel like you have to work twice as hard just to get half the result? Maybe you've seen it with your own eyes. One guy puts in minimal effort and she's sweet, attentive, loyal. Meanwhile, another guy, maybe you, show kindness, interest, consistency, and she pulls away. And you sit there wondering, what the hell is going on? Does effort not matter? Here's the truth most men never learn. It's not unfair. It's psychological. Today, I'm going to reveal the 3 exact types of men women respect instantly, often before they even feel attracted. These types trigger something deep in female psychology, something primal, something women themselves don't consciously understand. And if you stay with me until the end, you're going to uncover a twist most men overlook, something that will completely flip how you show up in dating, relationships, even marriage. Before we dive in, let me ask you, which type do you think you are right now? Drop your answer in the comments and then compare it again after you finish the video. I guarantee it will change. All right, let's get into it. Starting with type number 1. Type 1, the man who never negotiates his self-respect. Let me tell you something uncomfortable, but freeing. Women respect boundaries more than effort. Always, without exception. Respect comes before attraction, before chemistry, before love. A woman can't feel safe with you, can't trust you, cannot relax into her femininity around you if she senses you will collapse the moment she applies emotional pressure. This type of man, the one women instantly respect, has one defining trait. He does not negotiate his dignity. Not for approval, not for attention, not for love. But here's where most men fail, and I'm going to give you a concrete example because you've probably lived it before. Imagine this. You've been talking to a woman you like. Messaging flows, energy is fun, she seems into it. You finally set a date, Friday night, 7 p.m. You're excited. Maybe you even planned your outfit, picked the place, maybe cleaned your car. Then, 1 hour before the date, ping, a message pops up. Hey, I'm so sorry, something came up. Can we reschedule? Now pause. What do most men do? They send the nice guy response. No worries, totally fine. We can meet anytime. And they think they're being easygoing, chill, mature. But here's the psychological punchline. She doesn't see kindness. She sees a man already negotiating his dignity. Because here's something many women won't tell you directly. When she cancels last minute, she's watching your reaction. It's a data point. A test. A silent measurement of your backbone. Your response reveals everything. Do you fear losing her? Are you willing to bend so she feels comfortable? Are your boundaries just words you say or principles you live? Women respect the man whose emotions don't wobble, whose standards don't shift, whose time has value. Let's get brutally honest with ourselves. Here are the behaviors that tell a woman your boundaries are weak, even if you say you have them. 1. You tolerate lateness or flakiness. When you act like it's no big deal, she hears, your time matters more than mine. 2. You over-explain when she pulls back. Long messages like, did I say something wrong? Is everything okay? I just want to understand. These reveal insecurity, not emotional maturity. 3. You adjust instantly to avoid conflict. Changing plans, accommodating last-minute shifts, pretending you're not bothered, all to keep the peace. But peace bought with self-abandonment is poison. And here's the danger. These micro-reactions are invisible to you, but hyper-visible to her. Women evolve to detect emotional weakness. It's instinctive. It's survival-based. A man who folds under small pressure cannot be trusted when real life gets heavy. Why is this so powerful? Because deep down, women are drawn to one thing above all: a man who is unshakable. A man whose value isn't determined by her mood. A man who acts instead of pleads. A man who steps back instead of arguing. A man who creates consequences calmly, without anger, without drama. Women don't want to mother a man emotionally. They don't want to lead him. They don't want to manage him. They want to feel his structure, his solidity, his backbone, because structure creates safety. Let's go back to the cancellation example. She texts 1 hour before the date. A self-respecting man doesn't get angry. He doesn't guilt trip. He doesn't send paragraphs. He simply says, "No worries, let's try another time. But next time, let's plan ahead so things are clearer." Then he steps back. He doesn't initiate for a while. He doesn't chase. He lets her invest. He shows, not tells, that his time matters. And here's the magic. When you stop negotiating your dignity, women start negotiating their effort. She becomes more consistent. She becomes more careful. She becomes more respectful because she knows your standards are real. A coaching client of mine, we'll call him Daniel, had a pattern. He'd attract women quickly, but within weeks they'd pull away. Why? Because every time a woman gave him mixed signals, he would bend. One woman he dated said, "I'm not sure if I want something serious." Instead of stepping back, Daniel replied, "No worries, we can take it slow, whatever makes you comfortable." That sounds kind, but it communicated, your preferences matter, mine don't. And when a woman feels you have no internal structure, she loses trust. And when trust dies, attraction follows. After coaching, Daniel changed one thing. He stopped negotiating his position. Next time a woman said she wasn't sure, he simply replied, "Totally okay, but I'm looking for something intentional, so I'll give you space to figure things out." No drama, no anger, just clarity. That same woman messaged him the next day. "Actually, I think I do want something real." Why? Because she felt his backbone, finally. Let's make this crystal clear. A man with real boundaries doesn't punish. He doesn't lecture. He doesn't act superior. He simply acts in alignment with his standards. Boundaries aren't meant to control her. They're meant to protect you. Women respect men who operate from self-respect, even when it's inconvenient, even when it risks losing her. Because here's the paradox. When you are willing to lose her, you gain her respect. When you cling to her, you lose both. And this brings us to a critical transition, because the next type of man, the second type, is even more powerful in female psychology. A man with unshakable self-respect is attractive. But a man with options, women don't just respect him. They adjust their behavior around him automatically. And once you understand why, you'll never look at dating the same way again. If you're still here, comment, "I'm ready for type 2. It tells me you're engaged, and I'll release part 2 immediately. Let's continue. You've learned the first type of man women instantly respect, the man who never negotiates his self-respect. But that's only the foundation. Respect gets deeper and far more instinctive when a woman realizes something else about you. Something that changes the way she speaks to you, the way she invests, the way she behaves around you. And that brings us to type 2, the man with real options. Let me say this up front. When men hear options, they think of having multiple women, but that's not what I mean here. In female psychology, options are internal, not external. Options come from a man's lifestyle, discipline, relationships, mission, and momentum. A man with options is desirable not because he juggles women, but because he doesn't revolve around one woman. He's not emotionally monopolized. He's not dependent on one outcome. He's not clinging to a single source of validation. He is grounded in himself, in his direction, in his life. And whether a woman consciously realizes it or not, she respects this deeply. Many men misunderstand jealousy. They think women become jealous because they're insecure. Wrong. Women become jealous, or more accurately, competitive, when they sense they are with a man who is valued by others. This is called competition anxiety. It's not toxic. It's not unhealthy. It's a natural evolutionary response. Because when a woman feels other women admire you, desire you, or are drawn to your energy, she becomes more intentional, more affectionate, more consistent, more devoted. Not because she fears losing you, but because she respects you more. She sees you as a man who is chosen, not a man who is grateful to be chosen. And that distinction is massive. Let me paint a picture you've probably experienced. You post a sharp photo, clean, confident, masculine. You're not showing off. You're not trying too hard. You just look good, stable, focused. A woman comments, "You look good." And instantly, you notice a shift. Maybe the woman you're dating replies faster. Her tone becomes softer. She asks more questions. She puts in more effort. She suddenly wants to see you. It's not jealousy. It's respect for a man she cannot isolate. A man who has social presence, momentum, desirability. Women aren't attracted to men who are invisible. They're attracted to men other people notice. Not because of ego, but because of biology. Let's break down what this type of man actually looks like. 1. He never rushes when she pulls away. He doesn't panic. He doesn't chase. He doesn't double text. Why? Because he knows one woman's coldness doesn't define his worth. 2. He doesn't cling when she becomes distant. He doesn't beg for reassurance. He doesn't overinvest. He doesn't lose emotional balance. He sees what's happening and responds with maturity. His life has momentum beyond her. He's building something, physically, financially, socially, personally. A woman feels this more than she hears it. She feels his direction. She feels his purpose. She feels his growth. 4. He's uncontrollable because his emotions aren't dependent on her. And that's the key point. He cannot be emotionally monopolized. You cannot isolate him from his mission. You cannot isolate him from self-improvement. You cannot isolate him from his masculine identity. And because he cannot be owned, he becomes respected. A student of mine, I'll call him Marcus, was in a situation many men relate to. He was dating a woman who seemed interested, but he noticed her enthusiasm fluctuated. Warm one day, cool the next, responsive sometimes, distant at others. And Marcus made a classic mistake. He made her the center of his emotional world. He waited for her replies. He planned his week around her availability. He adjusted his priorities to accommodate her mood. And surprise, surprise, the more he did this, the more she pulled away. I told him one sentence that changed everything. Your life has to be bigger than your romantic interest. Marcus took it seriously. He got back to the gym. He reconnected with friends. He focused on building his business. He posted progress photos, not thirst traps, just confident updates. Suddenly, other people started noticing, commenting, supporting, complimenting. And guess what happened? The same woman started texting him more consistently. She initiated more conversations. She asked when he was free. She made plans early. She flirted more, because she sensed on a primal level that Marcus had become a man with options. He wasn't reliant on her attention anymore. He carried his value independently. Women don't chase men. They chase what men stand for. And when a man stands tall in his mission, his purpose, his growth, women gravitate toward him effortlessly. A man with options is powerful not because he has women, but because he has value. Value he built, value he earned, value he embodies, and that value radiates. When a woman senses that your life is meaningful with or without her, she respects you. She invests in you. She tries to meet your standards, not from fear, but from admiration. And speaking of admiration, this brings us to the third and final type. A man who triggers something even deeper than respect. A man who becomes a woman's emotional anchor. A man she trusts not because of what he does, but because of who he is. Type 3, the emotionally untouchable man. This is where everything changes. If type 1 is self-respect and type 2 is internal value, then type 3 is emotional mastery. Women instantly respect men whose emotions cannot be shaken by theirs. Not cold men, not distant men, not robotic men, but anchored men. Men who can experience emotion without losing direction. Men who can face pressure without collapsing. Men who can respond instead of react. Let me explain why this matters. In female psychology, one thing is irresistibly respected: emotional steadiness. A man who stays grounded, not outraged, not frantic, not insecure, communicates strength without saying a word. If her frustration can destabilize you, if her mood swings pull you into chaos, if her tests make you angry, needy, or defensive, then on a subconscious level, she cannot trust you. Not because she wants to control you, but because she needs to know you can anchor both of you when life gets heavy. A man who is emotionally reactive is unsafe. A man who is emotionally anchored is irresistible. Here's a classic example. She casually says, "Someone flirted with me today." Ask any woman why she says things like this. Many don't even know consciously. But psychologically, this is what's happening. She's testing your emotional center, not your jealousy, not your dominance, your balance. A reactive man becomes tense. Who? Why? What did you say? He gets insecure. He spirals. He proves he can be thrown off center easily. An anchored man stays calm. Unfazed, grounded. He might just smile and say, "Oh yeah? I'm sure you handled it." That one sentence communicates, "Your experiences don't threaten me. My value stands alone." He doesn't get rattled because he knows who he is. And she feels that instantly, deeply. Here's what emotionally untouchable men do differently. Number 1, they don't chase when she pulls back. They give space. Not as punishment, not as strategy, but because they're not emotionally dependent on immediate reassurance. 2, they don't react to emotional swings. If she's frustrated, he remains level. If she's distant, he stays steady. If she's overwhelmed, he becomes the calm. 3, they hold direction regardless of her mood. Her emotions don't change his mission. They don't alter his standards. They don't shift his identity. He is the mountain, not the weather. 4, their calm makes her softer. When a man is emotionally anchored, something magical happens. Women naturally become more feminine, more receptive, more gentle, more careful with their tone. Why? Because masculine steadiness creates emotional safety. And emotional safety creates respect. A man I coached, let's call him Aaron, had a girlfriend who often tested him with emotional swings. Some days she was loving, some days she seemed cold, irritated, overwhelmed. And Aaron made the same mistake many men make. He responded to her storms with storms of his own. If she pulled away, he chased. If she got emotional, he got emotional. If she questioned something, he defended. He thought he was communicating, but what he was actually doing was losing emotional leadership. I told him, she does not need you to match her emotion. She needs you to anchor it. He practiced being the still point. When she was emotional, he stayed calm. When she was anxious, he slowed down. When she pulled back, he gave space. Within 2 weeks, she was unbelievably softer, more affectionate, more attentive, more respectful, because she finally felt what she had been missing, a man she couldn't emotionally shake. And that's what women respect more than anything. Women don't test your weakness. They test your stability. They don't want to break you. They want to feel that they can't. When your emotional world is untouchable, you become the calm in her chaos. You become the direction in her confusion. You become the strength in her vulnerability. And this leads perfectly into the final part, because there's a reason these 3 types work. There's a twist no one talks about, a psychological revelation that ties everything together. And once you understand it, you'll never interact with women the same way again. Up to this point, we've covered the 3 types of men women instantly respect. The man who never negotiates his self-respect, the man with real internal options, the emotionally untouchable man. But now we arrive at the climax, the truth no one tells you, the twist that ties all 3 together. Get ready, because this is the moment everything clicks. Most men think women respect them because they're strong, because they're confident, because they're masculine, because they're impressive. But here's the twist. Women don't respect men because they are strong. Women respect men because they cannot shake them. Think about that. It's not the strength itself. It's the stability behind the strength. It's the sense that your identity doesn't collapse under pressure. Women don't test your muscles. They test your foundation. They want to feel your boundaries won't bend. Your life won't shrink to fit theirs. Your emotions won't explode or crumble under stress. These 3 types of men work for one reason. Each one represents a different form of unshakability. Let's break it down. 1. Self-respect, structural strength. When you won't negotiate your dignity, when you don't reward flakiness, inconsistency, or hot-cold behavior, you communicate one message. My self-worth is not for sale. And that's powerful. A man who protects his self-respect doesn't need to raise his voice, threaten, punish, or argue. He simply acts. He steps back. He holds his standard. He chooses himself. This tells a woman he can't be manipulated. That's respect. 2. Real options equals lifestyle strength. When your life has momentum, when you invest in your mission, your discipline, your friendships, your purpose, when your identity isn't dependent on one woman's attention, you radiate value. You're not trapped in emotional scarcity. You're not trying to win her approval. You're not desperate for reassurance. And that communicates he cannot be isolated. She can't make you disappear into her world. She can't claim you as her only source of meaning. She can't control the pace of your life. That's respect. 3. Emotional untouchability equals psychological strength. When you remain calm under pressure, when you respond instead of react, when her emotional storms don't drag you into chaos, you display the rarest masculine trait of all, emotional leadership. You're the mountain, not the weather, the anchor, not the drift, the center, not the spiral. And this communicates he cannot be destabilized. And that is the deepest form of respect a woman can feel for a man. When all three strengths combine, self-respect, options, emotional steadiness, a woman instinctively adjusts her behavior without you saying a single word. She becomes more consistent, more loyal, more gentle, more invested, more respectful. Not because you forced her to, not because you manipulated her, not because you played games, but because her psychology responds to stability, the same way a flame responds to a steady candle holder. When a man cannot be shaken, a woman naturally becomes feminine. And that's the psychological truth most men never learn. To close this out, let me summarize the three types concisely so you can remember them, apply them, and build them into your identity. Number 1, the man who never negotiates his self-respect. He doesn't argue, he doesn't chase. He doesn't justify his boundaries. He steps back from inconsistency. He allows natural consequences to happen. Lesson: respect flows to men who protect their dignity. 2, the man with real options. His value comes from discipline, goals, and momentum. His identity doesn't depend on one woman's response. He doesn't rush, cling, or panic. His life is bigger than romance alone. Lesson: a man with internal value moves differently, and everyone feels it. 3, the emotionally untouchable man. He's calm under pressure. He doesn't get rattled by female emotional swings. He doesn't overreact. He becomes the emotional anchor of the relationship. Lesson: when a man is unshakable, a woman becomes soft, trusting, and respectful. If there's one thing I want you to remember from this entire video, it's this. Respect is the doorway to love, and without it, nothing else works. You can't charm a woman into respect. You can't look good enough for respect. You can't try hard enough for respect. Respect comes from identity, from structure, from discipline, from emotional control. When you become the kind of man who cannot be bent, bought, or shaken, women don't just respect you. They admire you. They invest in you. They stay loyal to you. They adjust to your standards. They feel safe with you. Because you represent something rare, a man who leads himself. And that kind of man is impossible to forget. Let's make this practical. If you want to embody these 3 respected archetypes, start here. Say no without over-explaining. No story, no justification, no apology, just a calm boundary. 2, build a life richer than any relationship. Fitness, discipline, friendships, money, mission, momentum. These create internal value that no woman can monopolize. 3, practice emotional response, not emotional reaction. Take 1 breath before speaking. Detach from the moment. Choose composure over chaos. 4, distance yourself quietly when boundaries are crossed. No drama, no lecture, just distance. Men who walk away with calmness are men who are never forgotten. If you've watched this far, I know something about you. You're committed to becoming a stronger, more centered, more respected version of yourself. You're not here to play games. You're not here for tricks. You're here to grow, and I respect that. Now the real question is, which type of man are you today, and which type are you committed to becoming next? Drop your answer in the comments. I read every one. If this video helped you, like, share, and subscribe for more psychology-based self-improvement videos designed to transform the way you move in relationships, dating, and life. Because once you understand female psychology, everything gets easier.